Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hi, I'm Shuba. Welcome for the first time. I like to read books, and I do other things too. I have other hobbies, but I mostly read books. Believe it or not, the end of the year is upon us. 2026 is right around the corner. By the time this video goes out, it'll be mid-October, so we truly just have a little over 2 months before 2026. 2 months before 2026 and a lot of books on my physical TBR. While I was looking through my physical TBR, I realized I have a few books that were gifted to me by publishers or the authors themselves, and my NetGalley checklist is pretty big. Pretty big. My goal for the end of the year is to try to finish as many books on my physical TBR as I possibly can before the new year hits, and I have quite a few books that I was gifted by publishers or authors themselves. So today I'm going to share the books that I want to prioritize and finish before the end of the year. And these books are predominantly, like I mentioned, gifted books and books on my NetGalley. So we can talk about the books that I own, and if you've read any of them already, then maybe you can convince me to put them at the top of my list. We'll start off with the books that I physically own that I was gifted, and we'll go to NetGalley right after that. I want to preface by saying I don't really know much about what these stories are about, so bear with me if my descriptions are off. Well, I know that's on me, but that's also because I haven't read the book yet. The first book is Bright I Burn by Molly Aitken, and this was gifted by Vintage Books to me. This is a story about Alice, the daughter of a wealthy innkeeper, and she grows up watching her mother wither under constraints of family responsibilities, and she vows that she's never going to be like this in her lifetime. In time, she discovers that she has a flair for making money and takes her father's flourishing business to new heights. But she starts to get really rich, and when her company starts to grow, so do rumors of her private life. And Alice has been married 3 times previously, and all of her husbands have been dead. So now she's on her 4th husband, and there's some gossip that starts to come up. This is just a breathtaking act of imagination, and it gives voice to women lost to history who dare to carve a space of her own in a man's world. Not knowing much about this book, it's giving 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Like I said, I could be wrong, and I like that this story takes place in Kilkenny, which I believe is in Ireland. And also, I can tell based on the cover and what we read, there's going to be some female rage in here. This next book is Fun at Parties by Jamie Harrow, and this book was gifted to me by Dutton. It says, when online cycling instructor Quinn Ray has a mid-class meltdown after a bad breakup, dramatically off-brand for someone whose vibe is sunshine and rainbows, her boss orders her to take a few weeks off, and that's fine, but then Nate Reed, the main male character, he's barely spoken to Quinn since their friendship imploded 2 years ago, and they basically go on this road trip, I believe, together. So this is maybe friends to lovers, maybe second chance romance. Who knows? I'm really excited though. It says, as Quinn's peaceful road trip becomes a tour of America's biggest party spots with the guy she didn't know she still wanted. Okay, so second chance romance. She realizes that Nate might just be the silver lining she never thought to look for. And I am a big fan of second chance romances, and this road trip situation sounds really fun. It kind of reminds me of Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, but I think this is going to be funnier. 2 books that I must finish, gifted by 831 Stories. The first one being Grape Juice by Eliza Dumais, and this sheet of paper, I love how they write out a little synopsis for you. It's quirky, it's funny. I'm just gonna read you what it says. Darling, can I entice you on a journey to France to experience Alsace? Ooh, as the ideal antidote to apathy, sending your days amidst grapevines, making new friends, and taking a lover, Grape Juice is the most escapist 831 Stories romance yet, and I can't wait for you to meet Alice and Henry. Let me just tell you what the story is about. Alice's life in New York City is withered on the vine, so when her boss suggests she attends a wine festival in France, she's on a plane faster than she can second guess herself. On the first day of alcohol-addled adult summer camp, she's paired up with winemaker's nephew Henry, and their conversations spark with immediate intimacy. But Henry's situation is just as unsettling as Alice's back home, and neither of them are quite sure what to make of their connection or how to navigate it around this motley crew of characters. Maybe there's found family and friendships, and it sounds like it's a story of unlikely romance sparking. Also fun that the main female character is Alice, and then the main female character is Alice. And then the second book by 831 Stories is Exit Lane by Erika Veurink. I've had this book since September, and it was on my September TBR, and I didn't get to it just because I wasn't feeling romance at the time, and I'm still not. I'm hoping that November and December can spark my love for love again, because I am a big fan of romance. It's what I mostly read on this channel and what I enjoy the most. This is a story. Let's see what the paper says. Love, are you ready for sweeping romance? Of course you are. Buckle up for Exit Lane, a second or third or fourth chance romance that takes place across 8 years and 2 continents and starts with a road trip from Iowa to New York. That's all I need. That's all I need for it to say. The 2 main characters are Teddy and Marin. Okay, this sounds really sweet, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it. What are the odds, though, that Exit Lane is a road trip story and then Fun at Parties is also a road trip story? I hope that I don't find too many similarities between these two, and I hope that I like them just as equally. We always hope for 5 stars. This next book is Swallows by Natsuo Karino. This book was gifted to me by Nof, I believe in September. I can't remember. I talked about it in a video. Haven't had a chance to read this yet. I think this is a fiction story. It says, Riki, a single woman in Tokyo, is desperate to escape the precarity of her life. Motoi and Yuko, a wealthy couple, are desperate for a child. The Plante Clinic, an agency designed to circumvent Japan's surrogacy restrictions, is desperate to make a match. But when desperation meets desire, who truly holds the power? This is an anticipated story that pulls the seams of society, skewering our understanding of motherhood, self-worth, bodily autonomy, and class. I'm not gonna lie, I think this is going to be a heavier story. So if you're planning on reading this, I would suggest you check the trigger warning. So this next one is a really chunky one. It is Navola by Paolo Bacigalupi. I did not say that right. The cover is really pretty, though. I was hoping that it had to do with dragons when I requested it from Vintage. It says, in the bustling city of Navola, business is power and power is rising. For generations, the De Reguli family, I think it's Italian, I assume, has nurtured their merchant banking empire. I promise I read books. I don't know why I can't pronounce anything right now. Though they claim not to be political, their staggering wealth buys cities and topples kingdoms, and no one obstructs them twice. Soon, Davico de Reguli, sole heir to the De Reguli fortune, must take his place beside his father and prove himself worthy of his name. But Davico's heart is soft where it should be hard, very different from his father, and he prefers sunlit hills and green dappled forests to plots of his family. As the plot unfolds, armies march and assassins slip down shadowy marble halls, Davico is tested past his limits. And I think that there's also a fossil dragon eye, a relic of raw power involved, which is what this eye is. So no real dragons flying around, I don't think. Fantasy. I'm thinking it's fantasy. It's sounding a little bit like Gifted and Talented by Olive Blake, even though I haven't read that yet. So Gifted and Talented by Olive Blake kind of reminds me of Succession, the HBO TV show. So all in all, this is reminding me of a fantasy version of Succession. Hopefully it should be good. It's really chunky. How many pages is it? Oh my gosh. It's over 500 pages. This last one is a really sweet one. The author, Ali Kriegsman, reached out to me on TikTok. She reached out to me and asked me if she could send me her book. And what's really interesting about her is that she self-published her story, The Raise. And the reason is because no publisher would take on the book. However, then she got an interview with Reese Witherspoon, which is so cool. So girls get it done. Good for Ali. This is a story that is kind of like toxic. It's like a toxic thriller is what she mentioned when she sent it over. It's kind of remind me of like Pretty Little Liars and Scandal maybe, and what's the show? Tell Me Lies, which is also a book actually. The show is based off of a book. The synopsis says, looking at the mysterious redhead through the floor-to-ceiling windows, her hair looks exactly like Darcy's. She has the same pint-sized frame with a waist so tiny it looks cinched by the invisible corset. She's dancing now, her wrists high in the air, decorated with golden bangs Darcy wore to parties just like her. But before I instinctively rush through the door to scoop her up, squeeze her, show her the world that she's here, she's alive, I feel clubbed by the realization that no, she's not. She's still dead. Her skull is still cracked, her luscious hair still burnt to a crisp. Who's this chick then if it's not Darcy? I'm not going to read the rest of the synopsis. Sounds very interesting, sounds very juicy, and honestly a book that I could read very quickly. We'll find out though. Sounds very good, and I'm excited to read it. Those are the physical books that were gifted to me by publishers or authors that I have to finish before the end of the year. And now I have my NetGalley up, and I have 9 books on NetGalley that I want to get to before the end of 2025. Let's run through them. The first one being Never Over by Clare Gilmore. I loved The Perfect Fit by Clare Gilmore. I didn't necessarily like the love interest as much. The synopsis says Paige, a 25-year-old, is one contract away from earning her big break and doing what she loves to do, write music. Songs specifically. But when the music industry professional suggests she might be holding back with her lyrics to lessen the heartbreak of her own old flame, Paige doubts her music. And then she ends up contacting that old flame, Liam Bishop, after 4 years of no contact, and asks him for a small favor, date her and then re-break her heart. Also, she can remember what those big emotions and feelings that she felt so she can come back and rewrite her lyrics to her songs. I'm not too big of a fan on fake dating. I don't really read too much fake dating. I did love The Fake Mate by Elena Ferguson, which is a fake dating trope story. So this should be good. I do love a second chance romance, and I haven't really read a romance that's centered around music. So this should be hopefully a good one. And this book comes out January 26th, so I do have some time. It is supposed to be a historical fiction romantasy, and I have a lot of mutuals who have read this book already, and they absolutely devoured it, and I'm hoping to as well. I've been dabbling into historical fiction and historical fantasies, and I've been enjoying them, so I have high hopes that this one is going to be a good one. The synopsis says, in 15th century Volterra, sculptress Ravina enters a competition hosted by a secret, immortal family who offer an invaluable boon to the victor. Desperate to win so she can save her brother, Ravina reveals a real magical talent, a dangerous act in a city where magic is forbidden. Her revelation makes her a target, and she's kidnapped by the Luni family and taken to Florence, a city of breathtaking beauty and cutthroat ambition. It's supposed to be a standalone fantasy taking place in Renaissance Italy, which sounds beautiful, and I love a standalone fantasy. We love that. We need more really good standalone fantasies. There's going to be alliances that are shifting, and Ramita has to navigate line between survival and betrayal as she's fighting for her life and the magic within her. A Game in Yellow by Hailey Piper. I picked this book up solely for the cover, and it is a LGBTQIA+ horror story. The synopsis says, Euphoria meets. Things have gotten worse since we last spoke, which I don't know what the latter is, but I know what euphoria is. It sounds like in the story, our couple, they are trying to spice up their sex life, and then they end up getting a enigmatic drug. It's called smoke, and it's an understreet drug, and that kind of leads into madness, but also an adrenaline rush to survive euphoria, leading Carmen to fall in a game of lust at a nightmare's edge. I think that's where the horror comes into play. Interesting. You can see where the euphoria part of it comes into play, since euphoria was very drug heavy and character driven. This one sounds really good. It says Bram Stoker Award winning author Hailey Piper massively blends horror, erotica, and psychological thriller in this captivating and chilling story. On Sundays, she picked Flowers by Yaya Schofield. So this is a queer gothic horror, and I don't know anything about this. This one comes out in January of 2026, so I have plenty of time. Perfect time for me to actually read it before it comes out. The synopsis of the story says, it's a sinister and surreal Southern Gothic debut. A woman escapes into the uncanny woods of southern Georgia and must contend with ghosts, haunts, and most dangerous of all, the truth about herself. Drawn to the forests of southern Georgia, Jude finds shelter in a house as haunted by its violent history as she is by her own. This is a story that explores retribution, family trauma, and the power of building oneself back up after breaking down. Very interesting, definitely sounds spooky, and it's going to have some political undertones, and I'm ready for it. I'm trying to read more thought-provoking stories, and yes, reading should be for fun, and you should enjoy what you're reading, but also, and not have to think much about what you read, but also it's just as important to read books that make you critically think and have history and historical elements added to it so you can stay more informed, because all in all, reading is political. I'm very excited for this next one. It doesn't come out until February 2026. It is Cleopatra by Saara El-Arifi, and this book is, you probably might guess, Cleopatra. The synopsis doesn't say much online, but it's a historical fiction about, you might guess, Cleopatra, the most famous Egyptian queen, and the story starts off moments after she discovers that her father has died and she is now the pharaoh. I love mythology and retellings, and I normally read Greek mythology, so I'm excited to read some Egyptian mythology. I think it's going to be so good, and I am a fan of Saara El-Arifi. The Wicked and the Damned by Rebecca Robinson. This is the sequel to The Serpent and the Wolf, which is the Dark Inheritance trilogy. I cannot wait. My jaw dropped. My jaw was on the floor when Saga Press reached out and said that the book was available to read early. I cannot wait. The first book, The Serpent and the Wolf, was one of my favorite romanticises of last year. There's only been a few romanticises that I've read lately that I've been obsessed with, because I feel like with romanticises, their publishers are churning them out. They're all the same fantasy tropes, the plots are the same, and the characters are all annoying and the same too. So truly, when I read the book, The Serpent and the Wolf, last year, I was so excited. And this book is a romantasy with really high stakes, and there's political intrigue. It's a steamy slow burn. It's kind of enemies to lovers. The marriage is of convenience, and I really just loved our two main characters. It's so good. This is a story about our main character. Her name is Vasa. Her mother just dies and she hates her brother. Her brother does not like her and her brother wants to kill her off so he can take the throne. So as a last political scheme, he marries her off to their rival, his rival, and so it's an arranged marriage. But now Vasa is going to work with the rival. His name is Reed, that's right, Reed, and they're going to scheme to kind of kill her brother so that Vasa can be free, but that arranged marriage turns into something more, and there's politics, there's war, it's so good. It's just so good. I need to stop talking about this book, and I'm probably not doing a good job explaining it, but if you haven't read this yet and you need a takeaway, you should read the first book. I plan on reading the second one. That's why we're here. That's right. Moving on. Is it Hekate or Hekate? Hekate, the witch. I know in Sabrina, and when we talk about the devil, it's Hekate, not Hekate. But this is Greek mythology. This is a propulsive, electrifying, and enraging retelling of the life of Greek goddess Hekate, child of war turned all-powerful goddess of witchcraft and necromancy by internationally best-selling poet Nikita Gill. I've never read anything by Nikita before. I don't read poetry, so I've never heard of Nikita. But I have the audiobook that I'm very excited to listen to. I'm probably going to listen to it after I finished Wicked and the Damned by Rebecca Robinson. And this book actually is already out, so I'm way behind the times. We're so close to being done. This next one was actually already released in 2006. I think it's just being republished, traditionally published, or it's just getting a revamp with new cover page and all. It is The Good House by Tananarive. I read The Reformatory, I believe last year or earlier this year, and I loved it. It's such a haunting story, and if I know now, and I do know, not if, that Tananarive can just write historical fiction horror impeccably, and I'm so excited for this one because it's pretty similar. It's paranormal. It says Angela hoped her grandmother's famous healing magic could save her failing marriage while she and her family lived in the old house the summer of 2001. Instead, an unexpected tragedy ripped Angela's family apart. 2 years later, Angela is moving past her grief and is finally ready to revisit that rural house that she loved so much. But back in Sacagawea, she discovered she hasn't been the only one to suffer a shocking loss. Since she's left, there were so many senseless tragedies, and Angela wonders whether they are related somehow. Could the events be linked to a terrifying entity her grandmother battled in 1929? Did her teenage son Corey reawaken something that should have been left sleeping? Haunting. Ghosts, maybe? Paranormal activity, somehow? Sounds really good, and I just love that she's bringing in some historical aspect into the story. It helps me learn something new, like I mentioned, and also still get that horror kick that I love. And this is the last book. It is Still Into You by Erin Connor. This book comes out February of 2026. Unromance is one of my favorite books that I've ever read, romance-wise. It's actually right up here. This is my favorites, my forever favorites stack in Unromance. She's right there. I loved it so much. It's a second chance romance. It's so hearty, and I loved our main characters as well. I actually loved our main male character more than our female. Of course, I can't remember his name. I think it's Will. I digress. This is a romance that also is related to music. The synopsis says, when elusive metal frontman Dax Nakamura agrees to give his first interview in years, he has won his ex, Sloan Donovan, to write it. Looks like it's going to be a second chance romance, and that's really all I need to know. And music's involved as well. It's not that specific romance tropes are total giveaways of a story, but they kind of are. Like second chance romance, you know you like them and you know what's going to happen. It's just about how they process their way through to getting back to that second chance. So I don't need to know more about the story other than I'm probably going to love it because A, I love Erin Connor's storytelling, and B, I love second chance romance. All right, those were the NetGalley books that I was gifted that I plan on reading before the end of the year. Not plan, I must, I have to, it must happen, it needs to happen. And then here are the physical books on my bookshelf that I was gifted that I want to get to as well. Like I mentioned, if you've read any of these books before, let me know in the comments down below. And also, what are you prioritizing for the end of the year? What are your top books that you want to get to before the year is over? I will see you in another video next week. Have a great day. Bye.